You know, it's one of the most dramatic and frankly startling scenes in the Gospels. Jesus, this figure we know for his messages of peace and love, suddenly just unleashes fury in the heart of Jerusalem's holy temple. But what if this whole story isn't really about anger at all? Okay, let's get into it.
Right, so the image we all have in our heads is just pure rage, right? Righteous anger. But what we're going to see is that this was way more calculated. This was a symbolic act, a performance even, with a message so big, so profound, it would literally change how people thought about worship forever. So why did he really do it?
Okay, so to really get what's happening, you've got to put yourself there. Picture it. It's Passover. This is the biggest festival of the year. The city of Jerusalem is absolutely jam-packed with pilgrims from all over. And right into the middle of all this walks Jesus, heading for the temple, the very heart of Jewish religious life.
But what he finds isn't this serene, holy place of prayer. No, it's total chaos. The outer court is basically a noisy, chaotic marketplace. You've got merchants yelling, selling animals for sacrifice. You hear the clink, clink, clink of coins at the money changers' tables. And he doesn't just yell at them. He actually makes a whip out of cords and physically drives them all out. He's flipping tables, money is flying everywhere. It's a scene.
I mean, at first glance, you can totally see why everyone just assumes he lost his temper, right? It looks like a classic case of explosive anger over disrespect in God's house. But, and this is the key, if we just dig a tiny bit deeper, something much more intentional, much more powerful starts to emerge.
So what was really bothering him? I mean, this wasn't just, hey, no business is allowed. No, it was way bigger than that. Jesus saw a whole system that was designed to exclude people, both financially and spiritually. The very center of worship had become a giant wall.
And here's the detail that changes everything. Where this was all taking place. This whole marketplace was set up in a place called the Court of the Gentiles. Now, think about that name. This was the one and only part of the temple where non-Jews, people from any nation, were allowed to come and pray. So by cramming it full of animals and shady business deals, the authorities were basically putting up a giant keep out sign. They were physically blocking outsiders from reaching God.
And that's why his words hit so hard. He wasn't just pulling this out of thin air. He was actually quoting their own prophets. He calls them out saying, this place was supposed to be for everyone, for all nations, and you've turned it into a den of robbers. So you see, the anger, the passion, it was all aimed squarely at this systemic injustice.
So when he flipped those tables, he was symbolically flipping the entire corrupt system on its head. It was a huge public challenge to the religious leaders who let this happen. And let's be real, we're probably getting a cut. But believe it or not, even this massive protest was just the beginning. There was something even deeper going on.
Yeah, this goes so much deeper. See, cleaning out the temple wasn't just about getting people to behave better. It was actually a prophetic act, a sign that was pointing to a totally new, totally radical reality.
He wasn't there just to patch up the old system. Nope. He was there to announce that the whole thing was being replaced. And what he says next? Wow. Nobody at the time got it, not a single person. But it turned out to be the master key to understanding his whole purpose.
I mean, can you just imagine the shock? He's standing there, in the middle of all this chaos he just created, and he says this, "Destroy this temple, and I'll raise it in 3 days." People must have thought he was insane. They're looking around at this magnificent building, this thing that took almost half a century to build, and they're completely baffled. Because, of course, he wasn't talking about the building at all.
And this is where it all clicks into place. The temple he was talking about was his own body. It was a prophecy about his own death and resurrection. He was making this incredible declaration that the meeting place between God and humanity was about to change. It wasn't going to be a building made of stone anymore. It was going to be a person.
I mean, that one idea, it changes everything. If Jesus himself is the new temple, well then our entire understanding of sacred space, of how we even connect with God, is turned completely upside down.
Just look at the difference here. The old way, a physical building in one city. You had to physically go there. Access was limited, right? By geography and, like we just saw, by your ethnic background. And it all ran on a system of animal sacrifices. But the new temple, Christ himself, well, that's accessible to anyone, anywhere in the world. All it takes is faith. It's not a system anymore, it's a relationship.
This is just a radical liberation of worship. Think about it. God's presence is no longer locked up inside one building. Through Christ, you can experience that presence anywhere, and it's for anyone. The walls, the literal, physical walls, have come tumbling down.
And it doesn't even stop there. The idea gets even bigger. This new temple isn't just Jesus by himself. The whole community of believers, everyone who is connected to him, they become a living, breathing spiritual temple too. So worship stops being about where you are and starts being about who you're with.
So you see, flipping those tables was so much more than just a flash of anger. It was this huge, dramatic announcement that a brand new era had started. And it leaves us with this incredible question to think about, right? If the most sacred space isn't a building anymore, but it's a person and a community, well, how does that change where we look for the sacred in our own lives today?